One, Randall L. gets the fans involved and gets everybody excited.
A lot of bricks in that wall, Joe.
Big bricks. A lot of headaches now.
2nd and 3. Brunell back to Moss, this time off the defensive line. The Vikings' Erasmus James makes the play. James, the second-year man out of Wisconsin, 18th overall pick in the draft of 05. Lost a couple of yards. And just so you know, a couple of these Moss plays have been runs because they've been passes that went backwards.
The other thing, you take a look at the defensive line of the Minnesota Vikings. Kevin Williams at 3'11", Pat Williams at 3'17". They're two tackles. They're making them run sideline to sideline in this first half. Remember, it's the first game of the season. These guys haven't played a full game in 9 months.
3rd and 4. Vikings rush 3. Brunell is still flushed. Chased by Lieber and throws it away. So 3 and out for Brunell that time. Here's Susie.
Well, Mike, one of the things you can always count on with Mark Brunell is that he'll keep things light in the huddle. He exudes a confidence, but you had to wonder going into tonight. He talked about the uncertainty of this offense, and it's been a struggle for him to really try to absorb the whole thing. But Chris Cooley had dinner with him last night. Chris said, Mark, he really just wanted to get this game over with because there was so much surrounding it. Mark's biggest problem tonight, just calling the plays. Joe, you can relate to this. There's just so much verbiage.
Frost almost had it blocked. Turned to be a big kick, 49 yards. Mewelde Moore from the 20. A marker's down as Moore is brought down at the 30-yard line.
Susie, back to your point, the hardest thing for young quarterbacks to get out is the verbiage. You're right. But when it comes to a guy like Mark who can relate it to another system, it's just a question of sort of moving the X's and the O's around a little bit. As the game starts to go, as the season starts to go, they'll pare it down a little bit, get more comfortable.
During the return, holding, receiving team number 23, 10-yard penalty. They have the ball 1st and 10.
But getting back to verbiage, that was always your strong suit, wasn't it?
I could get it. I could get the verbiage out. I never stop sometimes.
Tony, it's still his strong suit.
That's what I think.
You guys.
So the Vikings will start back at their own 18. You know, you mentioned Brunell, Joe, and just a couple of points in the backup quarterback role for both teams. One thing that's helped Brunell and the rest of the Redskins offensively, Todd Collins came in from Kansas City as the backup quarterback. He's the number 2 quarterback tonight. The backup for Brad Johnson is the rookie Tavares Jackson, the 2nd-round pick out of Alabama State. Brooks Bollinger is their number 3 quarterback tonight. Taylor runs it. Chester takes it to the 30-yard line.
Just want to get back to verbiage for a second. When we sat with Joe Gibbs the other day, he told a story about you. He said that at the end of a quarterback's meeting, he made this terrible mistake and asked if you had anything to say. He said you went on for 15 minutes about strong safeties and free safeties and where you place the ball. And finally, Gibbs said, throw it here, and throw it here. Do you understand? And by the way, no more quarterback meetings with you.
That was the last time he asked me that question. You're right.
Verbiage.
2nd and 8. Taylor about a yard there. 3rd down coming up. Andre Carter, the tackle. It was Joe leading Joe Gibbs' team to the Super Bowl 17 title, and then Doug Williams, Super Bowl 22, when the Redskins won in '87. And 4 years later, Mark Rippon in Minneapolis, leading Joe Gibbs to that 3rd Super Bowl title.
There you are, Joe. There you are.
Great honor having your name put up in this stadium. These people, these fans are absolutely phenomenal. I know every team would say that for their home fans, but you can just hear them here in this place. And what an advantage it is to be able to play at home here.
3rd and 7. Johnson throws. This time it is held onto for the 1st down by Williamson.
Good job by that offensive line.
Let's check the flag on that side.
They're going to call offensive pass interference.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 42 is not on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty, it's still 3rd down.
This is the situation for Brad Childress, the head coach, also the guy that calls the plays. When you implement a new offense, we talked about verbiage and Mark Brunell just getting the words out, but then there's also young guys lining up where they belong. And that's the problem that happened here. Big 3rd down conversion for him. All of a sudden, it gets taken away.
3rd and 12. Moreeeee Moore is the running back. Redskins want timeout, and they got it. Something was amiss for Washington defensively. Carlos Rogers came over to the line judge to get the timeout. Washington second. Let's go to the email bag. Tony with Al Saunders calling the O. Greg Williams running the D. What does Joe Gibbs do? Sam in North Carolina.
Well, that's
asks.
sort of a problem. He wanders the sidelines. I've made him a deal to drive my bus to Jacksonville for the next game. You know, that may be what he's going to do.
Wanders the sidelines. No, he doesn't. He actually has some input.
He told us he wandered the sidelines.
I know, but he's involved in certain aspects. He checks on the kicking game, which he never had a chance to do. As you said, he wanders down to the defensive side and says, hey, stop him.
Stop.
He does that.
So you think he wouldn't drive the bus? Come on.
No, not with you, and not with you as a passenger. And one other thing, he is the team president as well. So especially in the offseason when all the installation of an offense would go in, Joe Gibbs spent a lot more time on personnel and other things related to this football franchise. As
the offense was implemented this year, Joe had a chance, Mike, you're absolutely right, to be able to go and sit with Daniel Snyder, to make the acquisition of Antoine Randall and a Brandon Lloyd, who we haven't seen yet, has also been added to the wide receiving core of the Redskins.
When the free agency window came open at midnight at 12:05 a.m., Randall L's phone rang. It was Joe Gibbs to talk to Antoine's wife about the schools and coming here to be a part of the Redskins family. 3rd and a dozen. Washington rushes 4. Johnson has time, but there's nobody open. It comes back to Wiggins, who's tackled in the open field by the middle linebacker, Lamar Marshall. Minnesota's offense is bogged down. Washington taking a timeout to preserve the clock at 2:28.
Even though it wasn't a first down, this is what an all-pro guard does. Look at Steve Hutchinson. Just absolutely nowhere to go. Evans is trying to get around him, get by him. Steve Hutchinson didn't give him 1 inch to be able to put pressure on Brad Johnson.
That was Washington's last timeout, but still 2:30 to go as the clock is reset. The 2-minute warning, so plenty of time, and the Redskins could get it in decent field position here.
2-minute warning acting as the 4th timeout for a team going into the end of a half or a ball game.
So Antoine Randall L., who last February in Detroit became the first wide receiver to throw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, can add so much to this team, and we all point to his ability to throw the ball, to run it, to pass, receive it. But this is the area I think he's going to have the biggest impact on this team.
The other impact that he has, Mike, is he's a heck of a guy in the locker room. He's always smiling. He's always having fun. He fits into the characters that the Redskins have on their team.
Second-year kicker, Chris Louis. This one returnable, 39 yards from the 41, Randall L. Upfield to the 45, return of 14. And Washington starts it in Minnesota territory. 9 minutes left, Super Bowl 40. Roethlisberger starts the play, gets it to Randall L., who throws to Hines Ward, 43 yards. Of course, Antoine Randall L., as you follow football, you know, a fabulous all-purpose quarterback at Indiana. Cam Cameron was his head coach there. He's come to the NFL as a receiver and gets the free agency deal to go from Pittsburgh here to Washington.
Antoine Randall L. throwing it, but Hines Ward sitting at home watching this game tonight, excited where we get a chance to see the world champs, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a big upset over the Dallas Cowboys yesterday.
That's next Monday night down in Jacksonville. Great chance for the Redskins to extend their lead here in the back end of the first half. Brunell with time for Santana Moss, who came from out of bounds to catch it at the 6-yard line.
They're going to call illegal contact. But when you go out of bounds and enter the field of play, you cannot be the first person to touch the ball.
That's the conversation, because he definitely was pushed out outside of the 5-yard zone. So there's an illegal contact issue to reconcile with that, Joe.
Illegal contact. Defense number 23. Forced the receiver out of bounds. He came back inbounds, reestablished, made the catch, which was legal. That penalty is declined. The play results in a first down.
So it's a reestablishment when he's forced out of bounds that allows that kick or that catch to be good.
So that would be the exception to being the first person to touch the ball.
Right.
Because you were forced out illegally.
Right. If you ran out of your own accord and got back in.
And again, great points for me in fantasy football. Santana Moss,
Are you keeping
my
track
man.
on there? Are you keeping track?
Yes. I tried to get fantasy football players that would play on Monday night so I'd have a reason to stay up.
So you're going to do this all year?
I hope it doesn't bore you.
That's terrific. 2-minute warning. Washington first and goal at the 6, trying to add to a 4-point lead.
Imagine yourself holding onto a moving rocket as it propels at speeds over 300 miles per hour. With ESPN, you can experience the fastest quarter mile in all of sports. The best in each class. Top fuel, funny car, pro stock, motorcycles, pushing their machines as fast as the laws of physics will allow. NHRA drag racing on ESPN.
Morning, LT.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, thanks. None of these are mine.
I used to be a chiropractor. I had to give it up because of a problem with my hands. I started playing poker pretty seriously. My wife said, why not give it a go at the World Series? Sometimes I still can't believe I'm the reigning world champion of poker. My name is Joe Hasham. Who's next?
Lexus halftime show coming up. Chris Berman joining us. Reflections of 9/11. Preview of Game 2 of our Monday night doubleheader. Chargers-Raiders. Very active day in the NFL, including Super Bowl 39 MVP Deion Branch traded to the Seahawks by the Patriots. Chris has the details coming up on the Lexus halftime show. After the big play to Santana Moss, first and goal, Washington from the 6. Porter's fumble. The pressure from the tackles got to Brunell, but a very good job of awareness to fall back on it for Washington. Portis with that bad shoulder had to dive in to get it.
Watch the interior linemen just take off and go. Wonderful job. Just they fly in and disrupt. That's what they're there to do. That's Kevin Williams, and what a horse he is. That's the job of that particular tackle in this defense, is to gain penetration.
Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, unrelated, but those defensive tackles, that's their job, to be disruptive. Remember, Washington out of timeouts, second and goal. And Brunell just throws it away for third down. Pressured by Erasmus James.
Redskins had the ball on the 44-yard line. Santana Moss is going to go down and run it out and up. What happens is Cedric Griffin, the rookie from Texas, second-round pick, he bites on it big time, knocks him out of bounds. He reestablishes himself, and that's very important. After he's knocked out of bounds, reestablishes position on the field, makes the catch, becomes a legal catch. Brandon Lloyd has been a guy who's been quiet in this offense, a new acquisition. You have to figure the Redskins are going to throw down here, and he's split out to the bottom of the screen.
Moss in motion, third and goal. Brunell fires. Moss couldn't hang on. Huge hit by Darren Sharper, the three-time Pro Bowler.
Whoa. Darren Sharper learning how to play a little more patient. Wow. Santana Moss had it. Darren Sharper said that he had to learn a different style of defense because in the philosophy that they play, he couldn't gamble as much as he did last year.
Difference-making play by the Pro Bowler Sharper, leading to a John Hall field goal attempt. Good first time around from 27 yards. Same distance here. Nice job with a high snap by the punter, Derek Frost. And it's 13-7 Redskins. Moss appears to be okay.
We heard Brad Childress say the other day in terms of his philosophy, he said you'd better be able to bloody someone's nose. He talked about the kind of toughness that maybe the Vikings had with Bud Grant. That would be a tough play, what Sharper just did to Moss.
Let's go down to the sideline and Michelle Tafoya.
Well, looking at Darren Sharper, he may need some extra TLC this week. For the last, all summer long, he's been wrapping himself up in a hyperbaric chamber. This is a portable hyperbaric chamber. He took it to camp with him. He spends about 2 to 2.5 hours a day in this thing. But he spoke with Terrell Owens, who does the same thing. Terrell will spend the night in this thing, so Sharper's thinking about doing that this week. He says it helps him heal faster, but at what expense, Tony? This thing cost him $15,000.
That's right, Michelle. 15 large for a plastic bag. You can go to any supermarket in America, get as many as you want for free. He spent $15,000 on this. Hope it helps him.
Well, the players...
Why don't you try?
The players talk about the hyperbaric chamber helping your recovery if you spend time in it for an injury situation. And now more players, especially affluent players, say, hey, here's a great opportunity to get myself healthier quicker because I'm an older player. And that's what the aid is. Nice return by Williamson. He got the corner. No flags behind it, and Williamson takes it to the 44-yard line. So Troy Williamson, who was tagged with the Randy replacement tag, because he was the first-round pick after Moss left. He has had a couple of drops in this game, balls that he should have held on to, but he's also made a big play on the touchdown drive and gives Minnesota a chance with 3 timeouts and 56 seconds left.
The Redskins gave their opponents an average starting position last year of the 32-yard line on kickoffs. They were horrific. They were the worst in football. And it still seems to be a problem for him covering kicks. Brad Johnson is a master at a 2-minute offense.
Well, he's got 56 seconds to do it.
And 3 timeouts.
And they begin with a run here with Moreeeee Moore. Adam Archuleta comes up and hits him after a gain of 2. Vikings take a timeout. With 49 seconds left, Archuleta came over from St. Louis, the former first-round pick of the Rams. After 5 years there, signed a very rich contract for a safety, $30 million with a $10 million guarantee. And Tony, that's the story every summer with the Redskins.
Every year. They're the best team in the world in April and May. They look great, but at some point, with all the free agents, it hasn't worked out. We saw a statistic that from 1999 to 2004, they acquired 21 players who had been to the Pro Bowl before joining the Redskins. None made it as a Redskin. You know, they backed off from signing big-name free agents in the last 2 years because it didn't work. They were having fantasy teams on their own, and they were the Cubs instead of the Yankees. Steinbrenner spends money, wins championships. Snyder's money didn't pan out. Yet.
After the timeout, 2nd and 8, Vikings offense is stalled. That for Wiggins is incomplete. He wanted a flag on Marcus Washington, and one comes in after the protestation of Wiggins, and about 4 seconds after the play, I think he negotiated a defensive hold out of this.
Holding, defense, number 53 before the pass. 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
You wonder what Joe Gibbs does on the sidelines? That's what he does. So what's the deal? The flag came like a week later.
So the penalty is the first on Gibbs' team here tonight.
See him hang on. Looked like a little bit of a hand fight going down, but who was pushing who?
No. In Redskin territory, Johnson back for Wiggins, who was able to wrestle it away and pick up the first down at the 35. Lamar Marshall almost had his mitts on it. Timeout, Minnesota.
Jermaine Wiggins was considered the pass-catching tight end of the 2 they had, Jim Kleinsasser being the other one. Had 69 receptions a year ago. And you think about this offense. What is he able to do? Tony Gonzalez, look at 0-4. Antonio Gates, then Wiggins and Algie Crumpler. You're talking about some of the best tight ends in football, but yet Jermaine Wiggins doesn't get mentioned in that same breath.
That's the last guy you'd expect on this list. Now the question to you is, can he be that productive in this new offense?
This is an offense that accommodates the tight end. Yes, he can, absolutely.
Let's just make sure he doesn't try to hurdle people.
He
did earlier in the game. That will send him backwards.
Vikings one timeout. From here, a field goal will be 51 yards. Good job picking up the pressure. Johnson's deep throw is incomplete as Taylor and Rumpf went up for the ball together. Two Miami Hurricanes meeting at the ball, looking for the pick.
Sean Taylor really doesn't care who he hits. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you're on the field, no matter what uniform you wear, he's going to go for the ball. He really is a phenom as an athlete. He could play wide receiver if they needed him to. He could go play corner. We see what he can do with his range as a safety, and we also saw what he could do when he wants to hit people.
Just stay out of his way is what you're saying.
And they try it deep again on second down. And one more time incomplete. Uncatchable is the ruling with the contact with Rumpf and Williamson. It's a nice job by the official to immediately let everyone know why there's no flag coming.
I find the calls by Brad Childress, the offensive coordinator and head coach, the last two plays a little unusual. They worked Jermaine Wiggins in the middle of the field. Now you come up, just because you ran by Rumpf one time, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to go by him a couple times.
They're going after the corner that they think is weak, that they were able to pick up via a trade, the Redskins, from San Francisco. So if he wasn't good enough there and they acquired somebody else's discard, they're trying to pick on him here tonight.
And he's playing for Sean Springs, who won't be back for another couple weeks.
Quick toss hauled in by Williamson. He's inbounds and down to 28. Minnesota has a timeout. Now they're comfortably in Longwell's field goal range.
Well, it isn't Longwell that concerns you. It's the hold that has to concern you. Can Kluwe get it down? He couldn't on the extra point that they missed before.
So Minnesota milks the clock down, so this field goal attempt will be the last play of the half. So we're going to have a 45-yard field goal attempt coming up to end the half from Ryan Longwell. Lexus halftime show is coming up. Chris Berman settling in for the reflections 5 years after the words 9/11 changed our lives. Preview of game 2 of our Monday night doubleheader and the Deion Branch trade from the Patriots to Seattle, all coming up on the halftime report.
His big issue is he wants to be a holder, thinks only quarterbacks should be holders,
yes.
Doesn't like when punters are holders.
No, I don't.
It's been a rotating situation at kicker for the Vikings. They bring in the veteran from Green Bay from 46. And Longwell.
That operation went well.
Yeah, proves he's worth the 5 years, $10 million. Adds the field goal. And we get to halftime. The missed extra point, though, making it a 4-point game. Washington gets the ball to start the third quarter. They lead 13-9. Now let's join Chris Berman for the Lexus halftime show. Boom.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. And we hope everybody is enjoying Monday Night Football on ESPN. We sure love presenting it to you, and we're very proud to do so, especially on a night like this. Nobody will ever forget where they were 5 years ago today on 9/11. I mean, how could we? It'll forever be etched in our minds, in our hearts, our souls, as will the memories of those who perished that horrific day. In New York, ceremonies at Ground Zero, a touching memorial service as loved ones were remembered. On to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where those who perished in United Flight 93, and then heartfelt ceremony at the Pentagon right here in Washington, attacked 5 years ago today. And it is with that backdrop here in our nation's capital, the symbol of freedom, that we remember that those in the National Football League are just like the rest of us, hard workers who struggled to move forward when it was time to do so. Here's how they remember 5 years ago and the days immediately thereafter.
out in the center field. And DeJesus makes the catch. Boy, he stayed right with it. What a nice play by David DeJesus.
I don't care if he does it. He can't hit it anyway, so forget about doing that. Moreeeee fighting to win. Has to make a shoestring catch.
Schneider hits his ball well out to center. That thing is flying, and it is caught by Chris Young. Back to first base, Ryan Church. Rivera starts back now. He has to come in. He's still coming, and he just does get there. Wow.
Pretty terrific scene here in Washington to start the 2006 season for the Vikings and the Redskins. 13-9 as we start the third quarter. Remember, Game 2, the Chargers and Raiders follow us on this Monday Night Football doubleheader. Susie Culver, Michelle Tafoya down on the sideline. Mike Tirico, Joe Theismann, Tony Kornheiser in the booth. You see all the key principles set for quarter 3. It's Darren Sharper and the Viking defense on the field first, as Clinton Portis and the Redskins will get the ball to start the third. Vikings scored on the first and last drive of the half. Washington controlled the middle of the first 30 minutes. And Rock Cartwright takes the kickoff back from the 8. Just plows into the line and gets to the 30-yard line. So you would think, guys, coming off that first half, both teams feel okay about what they saw after all the preseason. We don't know.
I would think from a Minnesota Vikings standpoint, you have to feel a little bit better than the Redskins. They got off to a slow start. Vikings have a lot of newness. New on offense, new on defense. They accounted themselves very well, except for a couple of critical penalties that cost them some big yards.
I would think the Redskins would feel better than the Vikings since they are ahead in this game at the moment. You know, that would impress me. We'd be ahead, having not scored any points with the first team in 4 games. They just scored a bunch of points.
Drive starts from the 29. Could that be one of those where everybody but the center, remember this counts?
Offense, number 66. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Here's Susie Colbert.
Well, Mike, it's the unveiling of the new Redskins offense, and Joe Gibbs told me at halftime that overall he was satisfied. He pointed to a couple of missed opportunities. He called them freaky plays. He said the biggest thing he's concerned about is getting to the red zone and then not being able to capitalize. So far, 2 field goals and a touchdown. As for Mark Brunell, he said the way he's handling this offense is great, and Clinton Portis is holding up just fine. Just look for them to get into a better rhythm in the second half.
Okay, Susie, we'll see if the Vikings can sustain, which they didn't in the second and third drive. Brunell on 1st and 15 with everything covered. Sends it to the Viking bench.
Mike, Mark Brunell and Brad Johnson are 2 of the best guys when it comes to managing a game. They're just not going to throw the ball into places and have it picked off. We saw Brad Johnson throw the ball away in the first half. Now we see Mark Brunell in the second half doing exactly the same thing.
You know, both of these guys, Tony, they were never the prettiest car in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
You know, so people always thought, especially as their careers have gone on here past the 2000 mark, well, there's another guy who's our franchise guy, but that manage the game quarterback is in vogue in many places in the league. Liddell Betts gains 1.
Brad Johnson was a used car in a lot of parking lots. You know, Brunell, and even with a Super Bowl victory, he was a used car. Brunell had gotten hurt. I mean, he was almost a star in Jacksonville, wouldn't you say? Right on the verge of being a big star, then got hurt for a little while, came to Washington, and also became a used car in his first year when he was completely ineffective. Better last year, and high hopes for him now.
He lost the starting job to Patrick Ramsey in the middle of 2004, a 6-10 season. Last year, Ramsey started the first game. Brunell came in, never yielded the job, had the great Monday night week 2 at Dallas, rallying them for the win, and led them to the playoffs. He's flushed here. No! And his pass is incomplete. Fred Smoot, the former Redskin, covering Brandon Lloyd. But the credit there is the pressure from Napoleon Harris.
You have to like the job that Mike Tomlin, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, is doing. This offense is doing a lot of movement. They're showing a lot of different looks, but yet he's still managing to get pressure on Mark Brunell.
Your theory, though, Joe, is that in the early games of the season, the defense is always ahead of the offense.
I think so. There's so, you know, they're less complex.
Nice kick by Frost. 50 yards. Moreeeee Moore from the 24. Very patient, read the blocks, and Frost, the punter, brings him down at about the 45-yard line. So a very nice job by Moreeeee Moore, who missed the last 3 preseason games. Only a 29-yard net on that punt because Moore returned it 21.
Imagine yourself holding onto a moving rocket as it propels at speeds over 300 miles per hour. With ESPN, you can experience the fastest quarter mile in all of sports. The best in each class. Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, motorcycles, pushing their machines as fast as the laws of physics will allow. NHRA Drag Racing on ESPN. Italian football on ESPN.
Line drive, left center field. Chris Bowler dives and he's got it. He caught it.
Great moments happen in baseball every week on ESPN.
Major League Baseball on ESPN. Wednesday from Detroit. One more time, the Rangers' lack of pitching became their Achilles heel. But they hope to make a difference in the playoffs when they visit the Tigers. Rangers, Tigers, Wednesday live on ESPN.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Redskins by 4. Remember, Minnesota's sitting on 9 because of a botched snap on the extra point after their opening touchdown 5 minutes into the game. And they always just hang around. Instead of a field goal game, it's a 4-point game. Good field position here, though. Chester Taylor first carry, just 2 yards out of that. Cornelius Griffin, former Giants second-round draft pick, made the tackle. Minnesota Vikings, when we talk about the offense and making changes, one of the things they wanted to do, although this is the West Coast offense, is run it better. Only 37 yards here tonight, continuing a preseason where they did not run it very well. And they're trying to be patient. They just say, hey, we'll keep giving you 1 or 2 yards, hoping in the fourth quarter we can break the big one. But here's what the Vikings have done running the ball. Top of the league in 2002. They were in terrific shape. 2003, 4th in the league. Very good. Then 18th in the league in 2004. And last year dropping all the way to 27th in rushing.
And now they have a rebuilt offensive line. Big money guy in Hutchinson. Burke back from injury. You'd think they'd be able to rush the ball more.
You're right. That left side is what everybody's counting on. Johnson feels the pressure and throws as a marker down with contact here in the secondary. So this may work out for the Vikings.
They're going to hold holding on the defense of the Redskins.
Before the pass, holding, defense number 25. 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
That's Kenny Wright, and again, we keep bringing this up, but 25 Wright, 29 Mike Rumpf. They're up against it tonight because Sean Springs, the starting cornerback, is not here for Washington with his abdominal injury.
Sean Springs probably going to be out for maybe a week, possibly 2 more, before he's going to be ready to go.
To the holding flag, the automatic first down. Vikings in Washington territory, and they run left. And again, no room for...
Okay, but it's interesting here because Brad Childress said the other day, it's not how much you gain on a run, it's that you continue to attempt the run. The exact quote was, it's not the quality of the run, it's the quantity. It's not the quantity of the pass, it's the quality. So he wanted to commit to the run, even if he was only getting 2 and 3 yards at a shot.
And their new offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel, was talking about that before the game on the field with me. He said, we may get the 1s and the 2s, but we're counting on the fourth quarter breaking the big run. Good job by Johnson hiding the ball. Again, Williamson deep with 3 defenders. It's broken up. Carlos Rogers in primary coverage. Archuleta joining the safeties back to break it up.
Brad Johnson has to consider himself very, very fortunate that this wasn't picked off by any of the 3 that were there. The ball winds up being underthrown. Carlos Rogers is just going to go up with the right hand. Watch from the right part of your screen. Troy Williamson down the middle of the field. Now Carlos Rogers goes up, swats the ball away.